LeBron James comes out last night. I think it was last night, yesterday sometime, and he says, we have enough to win. I want to state what I feel, and then I want to hear your thoughts. I believe, talent-wise, they do. Although I believe Derrick Rose would be a perfect addition to add to the squad because the Lakers are clearly not the same when LeBron goes off the floor. They run their pick-and-roll offense when he's on the floor, and it looks fabulous. He gets off the floor. I don't think Rondo warrants the respect that a Derrick Rose has because he's not a scoring point guard, even though he's a great point guard. And as a result, that has to change things up for Coach Vogel, and I think they're compromised to some degree. But my biggest thing about the Lakers is the Clippers. I think the Lakers need a goon. I think they need a rough ride. I think they need a pest. Well, I don't give a damn if this is a Patrick Beverly or a bigger version of him or something. I think that when it comes down to the Lakers and the Clippers, I think it's about that heart. The Clippers tell me they got 5 dogs on their squad. They're wondering whether or not the Lakers have one. I want to know what your thoughts are when you look at those two LA teams, and specifically to what LeBron James said about the Lakers having enough to win this year.
Well, LeBron James has been to so many. It means you lose count of how many finals he's been to. I think he's one of those
9.
very, very few players who elevates the other 4 guys on his team like no other. Kind of like Magic Johnson. Like, everybody's a threat on the floor. One thing I have seen in the Lakers, and I'll always give a shout out to my guys and former teammates, but they had a stretch when AD was out. He missed a bunch of games. They still won. Quinn Cook came in and did a hell of a job coming in, putting in some points. He can score the ball. And, so sometimes you have question marks, and you have guys like Quinn Cook, Alex Caruso. I think Rondo's very underrated as well. Sometimes you look at his numbers, and they might not tell the whole story. The way he's orchestrating different things like that. And you don't see often too many teams that put 2 big men and rotate them the way they've done with Dwight Howard and the way they've done with JaVale McGee and how they've done. And then you look at the Clippers, and a little different because they have a lot of weapons, like you said. Montrezl Harrell's putting up, he gets 30, seems like every other week. And Lou Williams is able to get to the foul line like no other. And he's shown that he can do that in the playoffs as well. Last year's playoff performance, especially against us, was amazing. And coming back from 31 game and taking the game from us in Golden State, they made us up our game a little bit. So, they have a lot of weapons as well. They've been really solid in terms of where they're positioned right now, considering their injuries and considering that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George haven't been on the floor as much. So, you want to see them play a little bit more these last, 30, 40 games and seeing that they can build some chemistry going to the playoffs because they're going to be dangerous as well.
When you say what you can still do, touched on some of the stuff that you can still do. When I look at the Lakers, there's a good reason people talk about Derrick Rose. They could use another ball handler. I disagree with you about Rondo at this point in his career. I don't think it's a great fit with him out there a lot of the times. I think that's why they need another guy. But they need a two-way wing or a guy who can do things on both sides who's a dog on the Lakers. I agree with Stephen A. That sounds like Andre Iguodala to me. On the other hand, I look at the Clippers and I go, Patrick Beverly, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, everywhere you look, you got a dude who will play on both sides of the floor. And I think about Andre Iguodala on that team. Boy, that's a nightmare for other teams. Would you rather go to a team that you feel like you fit in with that group better? Or would you rather go to a team where you look and they go, they could really use a guy like me on that team?
Well, you're picking your poison, in terms of, you having the poison and you being able to shoot that in whichever way you want against your opponent. I go back to that Rondo thing. I think he does enhance their bench and making sure they get the most out of their bench. And I think that does give them a little bit more depth than the Clippers. But the Clippers have a little bit more firepower in terms of, the guys you just named, Paul George all the way down to Patrick Beverly, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell. They just got a lot of things going on right there. And, they got Magruder. They still got some other guys who are still coming to form.
You put Iguodala in that starting 5, and Lou Williams really is a 6th man.
But Max and Stephen A. keep going under this assumption that the Lakers need a dog, and then implying they don't have a dog on that team. You haven't been in the league and played against all these different players. You might know them more intimately, the guys on that roster. Do you feel that the Lakers have somebody with fire? Sometimes being a dog isn't necessarily communicated vocally or in that way. If there is someone, could you point them out?
Well, I think they've maximized their 2 bigs unlike any other team in the league. You know, with the way that they're rotating.
Other than AD, you mean? You mean Dwight and
Dwight and
Yeah.
JaVale, who were written off 4 or 5 years ago in the league, and the way they've been able to resurrect their career, I think that shows, you know, you got to give a lot of credit to LeBron, who's co-signed on it, obviously, and said, bring these guys in, they're going to help us protect the paint. We're going to bring some strength around AD, you know, because the perception is AD's a little fragile in the paint with people trying to bump him and bruise him up a little bit.
He said he wanted some bodies down there to help him.
And I think those two guys have been really good. It's the reason why they're first in the West, second in the league.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.